The VLOOKUP function. We use the VLOOKUP function in Excel when we need to look up a value that's stored elsewhere in a table. Let's look at an example. Here we have our weekly payroll. We want to work out how much to pay our salespeople. We've got the hours worked, but we need to know the hourly rate before we can work out the payment. We need to look up the hourly rate. Now the hourly rate is stored in another table, which is on the next worksheet down here, the employee details worksheet. And if I click there, we can see that we've got a long table with details of each employee. The employee ID, the name, their department, when they joined, the hourly rate, which is what we're going to look up, and the manager. Now, in this table, first of all, when using VLOOKUP, it's very important to name your table. And you'll see that, why it's important later. So, I'll select my table and I'll give it a name. Very easy to do. In the top left-hand box, which is called the name box, I simply click and I write in the name of the table. In this case, I've called the table employee details. No spaces allowed, hence I put the words together. Press enter, and now that table has been named. Alright, let's have a look. A couple of important things to notice. First of all, the employee ID is in the first column. And secondly, we should note that the hourly rate, that's the value we're going to look up, is in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th column. So remember that, the 5th column. Let's go back to our payroll worksheet. So, if I was doing this manually, I'd have to say, right, okay, Wendy Lee, her employee ID is WL20110903. We could write that down. Go into the employee details table, see if we could find Wendy. Is it the right Wendy? WL201109. Yes, it is. 5th column, 27. So we could go back to our payroll table and type it in. But of course that would be rather inefficient and silly. So we're going to use an Excel formula. So I'll click in D4. I'll go and click on the Formulas tab. Then click on Lookup and Reference. And VLOOKUP is here right down at the bottom. Click on VLOOKUP. And it tells me the values that I need to fill in. Now that looks all a bit complicated, so let's develop a way to remember what to put in. The way I remember this is, what am I looking up? Where am I looking for it? What column is it in? And false. So what, where, column, false, I remember as Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. Okay, it's time for you guys to get creative. Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory is an acronym. So, make up your own acronym for what, where, column and false. Pause the video and continue when you've come up with something ingenious. So let's do an example. For this particular formula, what am I looking up? I'm looking up the employee ID. So I click in A4. Tab to the next one. Where am I looking for it? I'm looking for it in the employee details table. Now, handy shortcut here, you don't actually have to type it out. If you press F3 on your keyboard, it gives you a list of all the tables that you have. I only have one, so I can just click on it. OK. Tab. And remember that it was in the fifth column, column number 5. And this is a strange one. It can have two values, false or true. We're just going to use false in this occasion. It's a bit strange because what it means is that we're looking for an exact match. So we look at the employee ID and we look for an exact match. If it can't find an exact match, then you'll get an error, which is what you want. The other alternative is true, which is only has limited application because what happens there is if it can't find the employee ID, it just finds the nearest one, which in this case wouldn't be very good. So, what are we looking up? We're looking in the employee ID. Where? In the employee details table. It's in column number 5 and we want an exact match. So click on OK. And there we have it. I can very easily fill down these values. So I now know that we need to pay our salespeople a total of $8,223 this week. So that's VLOOKUP, one of the most useful functions in Excel.